Everybody, thanks so much for stopping by another live episode of Real Estate Titans. I'm your host, Greg Fowler, traveling throughout the marketplace, essentially gathering insight, inspiration, really drives and motivates these top real estate professionals in our field, from realtors, lenders, builders, developers, and really what takes them to
Absolutely.
honor to have you. I know everybody's super excited about this one. So we just want to dive right into the kind of the series of questions for everybody out there who's watching to really get to know what kind of man you are, what's brought you to the levels that you're at. So
Sure.
let's just jump right in. So I guess tell everybody a little bit about yourself. What's your background, your story?
So for people who think you have to be some super intelligent, super educated type person to get into real estate, I tell you, you definitely do not. I waited tables for 11 years before I became a process server, which at that point, that's where you're serving people court summons at their house. So I'd go find attorneys and people and work with them and, literally knock on people's doors. I had guns pulled on me, people coming out with bats and stuff. So I did that so I was a server, I was a waiter or a server for 11, almost 12 years.
Okay.
Then I was a process server for almost 2 years, and then I got my real estate license.
Yeah.
So literally none of which you need any kind of education level to do. So
That's fair.
Then I got my real estate license.
Okay.
I got that in 2010, March of 2010.
Wow.
So it's been about 8 years. I started out on Jeff Ryder's team.
Okay.
And I was on that for a few years. Never had any intentions of starting a team at all. Like when people suggested it, I said, I don't want a team. I had no desire.
Why would I want that
at all to have a team?
Okay.
And I just kind of went off on my own for a little bit, and then some of my family joined, and then from there, it kind of took off.
Okay. So you touched on a few points in there. So from a totally different industry into real estate, what was the driving to that, Jeff? I mean, what got you into the business in the first place? If you don't mind sharing.
Yeah. I need to do something where income can come in. I just didn't want dollars for hours my whole life. I wanted to get to a point where I could spend more time with my family, more time with my kids and dates with my wife and that kind of stuff. And just even with charities and volunteering my time. But if you're just trading dollars for hours, it's really hard to get there.
Wow.
So I was going to flip houses.
Okay.
And so I have a construction background too. When I was younger, I built houses with my dad.
Okay.
And we built decks and additions and houses and whatnot. So I was going to flip them. So I'm like, I'll save some money, get my real estate license, and then I don't have to pay a realtor, and I could flip houses.
Makes sense.
So and so then I got my realtor who helped us find our first house, was on Jeff Ryder's team, Ian Stone.
Okay.
And so he helped me get on Jeff Ryder's team, and I was just going to flip houses and take some leads and convert some leads while I was doing that. I ended up just loving working with buyers and sellers, and so I didn't really flip houses then.
Okay.
I just jumped into real estate full force.
Huh. And the progression of your career up until now. So from there to here, would you give everybody a little bit of background of how you started the team and that sort of thing?
Yeah. So it had to be 2013.
Okay.
Probably about that, when I hired an assistant. And then eventually I got to where my dad was the first one, I believe, I convinced him because he was a builder. Okay. And I was like, man, buyers would love to work with someone who knows homes that well, because they could help them, make sure they're getting a good home. There's not a lot wrong with it, save them money on inspections, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So my dad got into it first, and I convinced my brother, who was still coaches at Pine Creek, to come on. So he came on the team. Now he has his own team. So he came on, and then from there, we just kept getting more and more clients.
Okay.
And so that assistant became an agent, and so I hired another assistant, and we just really started growing. We figured out, we just kept getting more leads and more clients, and we grew from there.
That's huge, and that's a beautiful story and progression of how you got into the business and the background.
Yeah.
That sort of. I mean, that's great.
Well, and in the beginning, we grew by accident, and so I'm sure
he's saying it here, everybody. Listen.
Well, but eventually I realized we had to win on purpose. So that is a whole nother part of the process. But in the beginning, it was kind of winning by accident. Like, I worked hard, I cared about my clients, and so we kind of grew.
Love it.
Yeah, but then we hit a wall.
Okay.
And so then it came into, I never coined the phrase win on purpose. It was my sales manager, Dan Noel now,
Oh, neat.
who he coined that. I keep joking with him, like, how long do how many times can I say it before it becomes mine?
Yeah, that's
Like,
fair. Hey, Dan, if you're
seriously.
watching, it's Jeff's.
I know. There comes a point where I could just claim that,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
But he started saying you have to win on purpose.
Okay.
And he was just an agent on the team at the time.
Sure.
And eventually, you know, he liked helping other people as well, more than just selling real estate. So now he helps everyone else kind of grow.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's a great background, just so everybody knows into that. And this will kind of tail into, you know, the progression of what's your why? You know, what really motivates you, gets out of bed in the morning to do what you do at the levels that you do it at, Jeff? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, so my why, I've always had a pretty big why. Because 4 of my kids were adopted out of foster care. That's huge for me. Like, foster care is a big part of my life, even though we're not adopting anymore right now.
Sure.
And I don't know whether we're going or not in the future.
Wow.
5 kids is a lot, but
Okay.
but we still raise a ton of money for foster care. Like, our team raised $20,000. Most of it came out of their pockets.
Wow.
We donated it to Hope and Home last year.
Okay.
And this year it'll be similar, probably more money this year, because every closing we have, they're donating a portion of that to our fund.
Okay.
That later goes to agencies that we decide we want to donate to.
Wow.
So, and we've like gone to the homeless shelters and built bunk beds as a team. We've Habitat for Humanity stuff as a team.
Wonderful.
We're doing, we have a lot of client appreciation events. So we're doing, like, June 16th, we're doing a free ice cream giveaway at an ice cream shop in town. But we're also partnering with Penrose, I believe it is. They're bringing their blood donation truck.
Okay.
So they're going to pull in same parking lot. You can donate blood and then get ice cream.
That's fair.
So-
Fair trade, you know?
Yeah, so that's but mainly we do a lot of other stuff, but foster care is really, really what drives me. So
Okay.
my oldest daughter, I don't think she'd mind me talking about this, because she goes out there and she really wants to talk to other foster kids and foster families and help them, motivate them to keep going and keep and all that. But
Wow.
so she's awesome. Her name's Hannah, and she's dying to get out there and influence other people as well.
Okay.
But she had a lot of stuff she was struggling through abuse and all that.
Okay.
And she came to live with us when she was 15, and she had not been very far along in education,
Okay.
was behind in a lot of things, and she wanted to go to a school that would help her get to where she wanted to get. And so didn't want to go back to a regular high school. So we started researching to find out, what can we do? So we ended up finding the perfect school. It was okay. She wanted to go. She was excited about it. And man, we looked up the price, and finally we looked at what it cost. $10,000 a month.
Get out of here.
So we're like, we had just bought this house. It was like our dream house, and we're like, well, I did not have a team that took off yet. And so we're like, well, we'll sell it and pull the equity out of it, and that will to a school. Like, if you're dying of cancer, you would do what you had to do to pay for their treatments.
Absolutely.
It was the same thing. And so we didn't have to sell the house, luckily, because the team took off. We didn't have to take on any loans. But 2.5 years, $300,000 later, she came out a very different person and very capable and very ready to step out into the world.
Wow.
So $300,000, like, who can afford that?
Sure.
And so our family's heart is for foster care. And so we really started thinking about, like, how can we help our community here? And so we started doing research. And I have verified this across the board throughout the entire country. 80% of inmates were in foster care at some point in their life.
80%.
80%.
Wow.
I verified it with El Paso County here. I have other people who are, in the industry looking at similar things that have verified it out in California, East Coast, all over. It's anywhere from 75 to 85% in there. So it's 80% here in El Paso County.
Okay.
So that's crazy. And a good portion of the homeless population was in foster care at some point.
Right.
So crazy. If you could fix that and help, and you know where they come from? They come from kids who age out of the system and no one adopted them.
Wow.
Because you imagine you spent your whole life in a group home,
Sure.
or passed from family to family to family, and nobody wanted to adopt you, and now you age out of the system. Why would you care about anybody else?
Sure.
You wouldn't.
You're jaded into that.
Yeah, well, just no one ever cared for you, so why would you care for them, right?
Right.
So my big thing is I want to start a school. You ask me my why is. This is my why. I want to start a school that for kids here locally in El Paso County that are aging out of the foster care system and no one has adopted them. Most of the time, it's crazy. Our schools here, I'm not going to rag on any particular school, but
Right.
most of our schools here just pass kids through. It is completely insane.
Bummer.
Like, they just they're just passing them through, and they come out of it with 5th and 6th grade levels of education, but they just graduated high school, and that's a fact. Like we had them tested later after graduating, and that's the levels.
Crazy.
So at the school she was at, they actually have individual homeschool programs for every kid in the school, and so they start them at whatever that level they're at in whatever I guess subject,
right,
and get them to graduate and get an actual high school diploma. So something like that for kids aging out of the system, where we can get them a real high school diploma, help them integrate into a job, back into society, and actually show them they have somebody who loves them and cares about them, and kind of just someone they can come back to, like a mentor type figure in their lives. So that's the goal. Costs a ton of money. I don't even know all the costs, but I need to I have to have a big goal, because it's really hard to get funding for that for people who are over 18. Kids, it's easier.
Okay.
You're an adult, it's hard to get funding for getting them high school education and stuff like that.
Wow.
So we're looking at most of it coming from either raising private funds or using my own funds.
Okay.
And so I need to be netting over $1 million a year.
Right.
In passive income, because I have to, if I'm putting my heart into that school and all that money into that school, then I don't have it has to be passive, or at least semi-passive.
Sure.
So that's part of my big why.
Okay.
That was what first got me into it. I have a second why that's now part of it.
Fantastic.
Is I love my team. And I don't even say, I use the term my team liberally, it's our team. Like it is, I just, literally everyone on the team, it's almost like we're like, all right, this is the big love fest, everyone shut up, let's work. Because everyone on the team, literally, it's crazy how much our team members care about each other.
Right.
And I love it. So part of my why now is it's really neat to be able to help people have their lives as well. And everyone on our team hard. I can build something for my family, but I can also help everyone else build something for their families.
Sure.
And that's my other why.
And there's a lot in there, and hopefully everybody got the nuggets of info in there as far as giving back to the community, to kids and that sort of thing, to grow into family. Also talking about your work family. I mean that's so much, and that's a part of really what I consider you a Titan, Jeff, is because it's not just production. It's not just you care about others.
Right.
You want to do more so that you can give more. And that's awesome. And more professionals need to look at it that way, but also hopefully consumers that are watching this can see that you guys are not all created equal. Yeah. So that's a big part of that. So let's go into a slightly different section into that when you're talking about business into the family standpoint. So anybody out there who's watching this now, whether you're new or seasoned, to get a window into your business professionalism to scale to what you've done, and we talked about kind of your natural progression, but if you could pinpoint one or two things that you added to your business, Jeff, that took it from one level to the next, what does that look like for you and your team? Yeah, it's funny because the turning point was just clear as day. Okay. It was about 3 years ago. I keep thinking I say 3 years for a long time. Eventually I have to change it to 4, and I'm not sure. What's the time frame on that one?
But it was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
But I've been with RE/MAX since I got into real estate. Okay. And I'm now with Keller Williams. Right. And it was 3 years ago, I went to a Keller Williams family reunion, and it blew my mind. I was on an anniversary with my wife. Okay. We were in Cancun. They flew us from Cancun to New Orleans. Oh, cool. And so they paid for all that. So I'm like, well, what the heck? I literally was like, I'm not joining Keller Williams. If you want to pay for me to go there, that's fine, but we're in Cancun. And so they're like, we'll fly you to New Orleans. We're like, all right, what can we? And I'm like, well, my wife's gonna be with me and I don't want her to be bored. So they took care of my wife. They gave her some spa packages and stuff. And we went to New Orleans, stayed in a nice hotel. I didn't pay a penny. Okay. And it blew my mind and rocked my world. It was unreal. Everything I learned at that family reunion, I would have paid for it 100-fold, because the whole way we run our team now came from what I learned at that family reunion. And then in addition to that, then I read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And that rocked my world again, because one of the things, and I'll tell you what I got out of it. Yeah, that's great for everybody out there. So there's two things that I got out of it. One, the main one was hire empire builders. Okay. And so I think most team leaders that I've talked to and that I know, even after we've had discussions about hiring empire builders, they don't do it, because we're scared. You hire someone smarter than you hire someone more ambitious than you hire an empire builder, they're just going to outgrow you, right? Then you put all this effort into them, they grow, they develop their own business, and then they leave.
See you later.
Yeah. And so that's what most team leaders are afraid of. Like, you put all this time into someone, you teach them how to build something, and then they leave. They take your information and go.
Wow.
And so what Gary said, and I love this, he said, as long as you keep growing, they'll never outgrow you. And I'm like,
that's beautiful.
Like,
it's so simple.
it's huge.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, it's so clear. And I'm like, why had I never thought about that?
Wow.
So all I need to do is I need to keep growing so I always have something to offer everybody else.
Love it.
But the cool thing that I didn't realize is that when you hire a bunch of geniuses and a bunch of just empire builders, people who want to build something and want to become better, is they make you become better.
Wow. Yeah.
It's not even like I'm gonna grow just so, like I can't help it, because they're all like, the people on our team are amazing. You have to bring the right people on.
Love it. Yeah.
And so we have so many people who are way smarter than me. Like I joke about this, and I totally joke about this with people, but it wasn't that long ago. It was only like 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
I had a moment where I literally had this huge moment of insecurity because I looked around and I was like, man, I'm like, there's nothing that I do better than anyone else anymore on the team.
Jeff, that's
and
big.
I felt like super insecure for a moment. But I'm like, but actually that's what makes it awesome.
Okay.
Is we all have so much that we share with each other, and we help each other grow, because this person is the best at this and this person's the best at this. And because of that, and everyone on our team has a truly just sharing, giving mentality, that just the abundance mentality. Whereas if I help you grow and we all help each other grow, our whole, even though your slice of the pie may not get a higher percentage, the whole pie grows. And so,
Truly.
and that's kind of the way it is on our team, and it really is like that.
I love that that adage, and I think tailing into that is that high tide raises all ships.
Yep.
Right, and I think that's what we're doing, and it's cool for everybody out there to see that everybody has those positions of thought process or vulnerability, but understanding that, hey, this is the right thing, and we're going in the right direction.
Yeah.
That's big. That's big. You are guilty by association, right?
Yeah, and that was one of the big things I got. That one was from reading the Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Cool.
And then we revamped the whole structure of our team, the entire thing.
All right.
Because I used to always say, well, I just want to do this many deals, and then I'll be good. But one of the things Gary said is, why? He's like, because when you say that, you're making it about money. Some people think if you always want to keep growing, then you're making it about money, but you're not. If you say, I just need to make this much, then you're making it about money.
Right.
But if you just say, I'm going to be the best I can and help other people be the best they can, then it's not about money anymore. It's about just growth.
Right.
And so that's kind of the other thing. We did a major team shift in just how we organize a team, because I had always said, I can organize it this way because if I get to 150 transactions, I'm totally fine.
Right.
So we set up a structure for that. And then when we started going over that, we're like, this doesn't work anymore. But now what Gary said is your structure there should never be a cap. So start out building with big goals in mind. That way you don't have to shift when you do it. And those are two huge game changers. Huge
pieces. And obviously the great success that you and your team have had because of that, that's huge. So hopefully everybody took some notes on that one, because that is good stuff. So thanks for sharing that, Jeff, because that's kind of a window into your business, and that's really cool stuff. So when it comes down to this next question, it's tricky. Right? When it comes to challenges, and what happens is look, when life is easy, we can all skate by, and that's all right. But when challenges come our way, those speed bumps, it's not so much what happens, but how we respond.
Right.
So if you could take a look back into your life thus far, a challenge that you dealt with, Jeff, that you overcame that made you a stronger man because of it, what does that look like for you?
There's two kind of big ones.
Okay. Yeah.
But the first one would be when I first got into real estate. So it was like the perfect storm for disaster when I first got into it. So how everyone says, like, you do better if you have a fire under you. Like,
sure,
this was like a bonfire under us. We full on felt God call us to foster care without a doubt. We knew it was God calling us because we didn't really want to do it.
Wow.
Full on, like, we couldn't sleep. It was so strong that God was telling us, you need to do it. So we're like, all right, we're going to do it. My wife, Jessamy, had an amazing, high-paying job. She was traveling around. She would contract with the State Department and the DOD as a French interpreter and do a lot of stuff in West Africa with delegates. And, I think she dealt once with France. But her love was West Africa.
Cool.
So she did a lot over there. But she quit that to stay home with our kids that we were bringing into our house. And so we had just paid off a bunch of her student loans.
Okay.
And very shortly after getting into her career, she jumps back out of it, drops to zero income, and to take care of these three.
Okay.
That came into a sibling group that came in. And so she's at zero income.
Okay.
I went from that. Remember, I was a server,
Yeah.
and then I went into process serving, which was about a $35,000 to $40,000 a year job.
Okay.
And we just paid off a bunch of her loans, and so we had very little money in the savings after paying off all the student loans.
Wow.
And I had zero income.
Okay.
So zero income, zero savings, 3 kids.
Wow.
And so it was the perfect storm for disaster.
Okay.
Like it was crazy. So that was one of those moments where like you had to make it work. Like you had to jump in. And that was where I've always kind of been the kind of person where I do what I need to do to get it done.
Love it.
But this was really like, I had to do what I had to do to get it
This
done.
is next level, right?
Yeah. So that was a big moment in my life where I did what had to be done.
Right.
So that was a big, I don't know. They're funny, these 2 examples I'm going to give are like very opposite. This was a big like, had to show strength and power through type moment. And one of the more recent ones that has drastically changed my life was, it's kind of a 2-part thing. We have what we call our LDP, it's our leadership development program on our team. So it's kind of where a lot of our decisions go through. It's where if I've got ideas or someone else on the team has ideas, we run it through this group before presenting it to the whole team. And if it goes through this group and we vote it in, then we move on, right?
Okay.
But it's also where I get feedback from the team on how I'm doing and all that kind of stuff. And so that's part of this equation. The other part of it is we had a really rough start to the year. And it's funny because I think a lot of people would be like afraid to admit it, but I don't care. Like it was, we took a big loss our first 2 months.
Okay.
So we closed 367 transactions in 2017 and did really, really well. But we just took a big dive. Okay. We're doing well now, but the first 2 months were really, really hard.
Wow.
And so people were stressing, everyone's stressing. And so all this is going on at the same time. And at that exact same time, I had people come in with things that I was doing wrong as a leader.
Interesting.
And it was,
wow.
And it wasn't like they were coming at me like they were mad at me, but when you're already stressed out and things are hard and then other people come in, like it was tough. And so the last one I told you about was like a moment where I'm like, I'm going to be strong. But what I had to learn in this moment was, and I knew this already, but it was like the ultimate learning experience in this because I didn't do it perfectly.
Okay.
Was looking at every single person around you as an individual person who has thoughts, feelings, needs, wants, all that. Because it's easy for us, and not just me, but individuals on the team, team leaders, for everyone. It's really easy for us to look at our needs and our wants, but see kind of the people around us as objects or as means to getting where we want to go.
Wow.
And even I think the best of us, if anyone says they don't do it, they're a liar or they're oblivious because
everybody, you heard man.
Because you're just blind if you're not. Because the best people on the planet do it.
Love it.
It's just you have to. The more you're aware of it, the less you do it.
Okay.
And so I think you have to be aware that we have a tendency to treat people around you like a means to get to where you want to go. Like even the book Winning Friends and Influencing People. Like
great book.
Everyone, but you utilize that. You can use it to manipulate people and to get people to do what like you're some feelings and wants and needs and desires, and if there's a conflict, it's really easy for us to jump into our own box and think about my needs and my desires and all that. Sure. And it was super tough. I mean, it was really tough because I was losing money, and then other people are coming to me with stuff, and I'm like, what the heck? Yeah. But then I had to think about that. It was a huge moment of having to just really think about that and see it from other people's perspectives. But we did, and we did it, and everyone on the team, the leadership did it together, and we're able to, and we told the team through this stronger than ever. And it's really neat when I look at our team and what we did as a team, for them to be able to have the guts to come forward and talk about stuff was just as hard, I'm sure.
Agreed.
And so we all did it, and it was amazing, and I love our team. Like I can't get over it how every time there's ever, because we are like a family, there's struggles, there's problems, there's We don't always see eye to eye on stuff.
That's all right.
But yet we have almost no turnover because everyone on the team is pretty good at seeing everyone else as a real person.
Right.
And that was probably a big, so earlier this year was a big, I guess, a hardship that we overcame as a team, and it was really neat.
But that's a huge strategic share for everybody, and I think that if anybody who's watching this takes one thing away, it's looking at people as people with their goals, and they have families and lives and all those things, and not looking at them from a standpoint of you're here to help me do what I need.
Right.
That's a brilliant piece of advice. That is huge.
It's a game changer too.
Yeah.
If you can realize it and do it.
Truly. So that's awesome. And I know that's not easy. Thanks for sharing the challenge. I know that's the tricky part of this particular episode. But let's go into a slightly softer question, if you're all right with that. So when it comes down to it, if you could travel back in time, and it could be any variant of your life, but if you were talking to maybe young Jeff, and you were to give him a piece of advice or two, what would you say to yourself, Jeff?
It would take extreme ownership. That's a book, by the way.
Okay.
Read it. Okay. Extreme Ownership.
Here we go.
It's so good.
All right.
And that was another game changer, I think, for our team. Our leadership team went through that book together. And it is what it sounds like, extreme ownership. It's why we worked it into our values.
Love it.
Because it's just, you take ownership of where you're at. Like, even if you don't have, like, we've talked about it from every level. Because as a team leader, it's easy to say, we're struggling because those guys are idiots. Like, if they were any good, they'd be selling homes. Like, or we could say, maybe the systems I have aren't working. Maybe I'm not maybe there's not enough incentive. Maybe it's the systems that I developed that are wrong.
Sure.
Right? But from a new person, we'd ask this question. You're brand new. You just came on the team. You didn't have anything to do with the structure of this team, right? Nothing. You just came on.
Right.
You had nothing to do with it. And something goes wrong because you're following the structure. How do you take extreme ownership of it? And that was something we talked about.
Oh, that's deep.
But at every level, you can take total extreme ownership.
Okay.
So even at the lower levels, and we had to dive into it. Like, I just started. What can I do? No, you have a voice. Talk about it. If it's something, that's how you take ownership of it. And so you can talk about it up the chain. Talk to the people who have been there. Say, this is what I experienced. I think maybe this could be better. And so when everyone on a team takes extreme ownership and says, this is my problem, I'm going to deal with it, like, major change happens. So that's a big one. And I always kind of knew it, but it took me a while to grasp it to the extent that I do now.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that was a big one.
Okay.
I don't think if there's anything else.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, I'd say, that's probably one of the major ones. And just really the other one I just said, recognizing, like, consciously deciding to see people as people. Because I think there's a ton of us who think we do it. I would imagine if you asked a room of 100 people, how many of you treat people like objects? No one's going to raise their hand.
Right, they're going to be like, oh yeah, that's me.
But that means they're either not raising their hand because they don't want to look like a,
Yeah, exactly.
or they're just kind of oblivious to it.
Okay.
So I think everyone does it. When we're not having our best moments, when we're stressed, the more stressed we are, the more we tend to treat other people like objects to get to where we want to go.
Okay.
And so that was another thing, just to consciously think about it all the time. Like, am I treating you as a means to an end, or am I treating you as a person just like I am? And I would have, if I could have consciously been thinking about that 10 years ago on a regular basis, that's one of them. That's the second one.
Okay, and both of those are huge. Not just young Jeff, but I think everybody out there watching, that's stuff to take to heart for sure, and really look at our lives and see what we're doing for positioning. That's great advice, Jeff, for sure. So let's go into the feeding of the mind question of this. So everybody out there can kind of see, a window into what you're doing as far as books you're reading, podcasts you're listening to, or maybe influencers on social media or coaches. So what can you share with that for you?
Yeah, so we have a coach. We coach through Tom Ferry.
Awesome.
And right now, my current coach, well, he's not current anymore. He just retired. Okay. So we're actually debating moving over to MAPS coaching with KW. So we're interviewing coaches right now.
Okay.
But coaching is huge for any, especially in sales, but anybody who's running their own business or doing anything like that. Coaching is so important.
Okay.
Because we don't know it all. Like, people like, how'd you grow so fast? It's because we copied other people. Like,
we didn't have to reinvent that wheel.
Yeah, it's only recently. Like, in terms of transactions, we're number one in the state of California. Well, we were in 2017. I don't know the stats right now.
All right.
In 2017,
we had,
there you go. We will be again.
There you go.
We have a couple friendly competitors out there here locally.
That's good. That's a good thing.
Yeah,
That's
like Treasure Davis.
Hey, treasurer.
So we're always like neck and neck.
Cool.
Like she beat us in volume. We beat her by a few transactions last year.
Okay.
So technically volumes don't matter. So you're ahead, but we gotta. but we're always neck and neck, So,
Okay.
but it was only recently that we started trying to come up with new ideas. So we went for all that time just looking at someone else who did it right and copying them.
Right.
So yeah. I just lost where we're going with that, though.
No. That's good. As far as we were talking about books, podcasts, but we did coaches, influencers.
Oh yeah,
so that was a part
so
of it.
we do coaching.
Okay.
I don't really do podcasts.
Okay,
Or social media, like follow people on social media that much, but I do an hour of education every morning, or 5 mornings a week.
Awesome.
So I combine it with my workout.
Okay.
So I'll go run either 3, 6, or 8 miles depending on the day.
Awesome.
And put my put my headphones in and listen to, like right now I'm listening to leadership and self-deceit.
Okay.
Or self-deception is what it is.
Okay.
And it's really, really good. That one's a good one.
Fantastic.
But I do an hour every morning. So
Okay.
while I'm doing either at the gym or running, I'll put my headphones in and do that.
Okay.
And I'll have like a voice recorder in my pocket too. So if it's something good, I'll actually pull it out and take notes on it.
That's really smart for everybody out there, because especially
Because you can't have a pad of paper when you're out running.
You're like, oh, you're out running. Hold on a second.
Right.
You're gonna say, okay, cool. So, what else into that? So, books. So, you mentioned a few physical books, which I'll have a list in the comments and description below, so everybody can follow. But anything else into those categories?
Yes, I can tell you for sure my game changers. The game changers were the MREA, Millionaire Real Estate Agent.
Okay.
4 Disciplines of Execution. That was huge.
Wow.
And that book was about, so college, and you go to school. Everybody knows how to brainstorm for ideas, but where most people fail is in executing those ideas. So this book is on that, and they went through and interviewed like hundreds of managers and business owners and thousands of employees,
Right.
and over years to come up with what's in this book, and it's really good information. So
Okay.
there was MREA, the 4 Disciplines of Execution, Extreme Ownership, the 5-second rule. That was Mel Robbins.
Okay.
That one is, so she uses the example. If you Google or go on YouTube and search Mel Robbins TED Talk,
Okay.
you'll find her TED Talk that launched her career
Wow.
a few years back. But her whole thing is, so Nike says just do it. Here's how to just do it.
That's great.
And it's really good. Like I was at the Remax convention a few years ago,
Okay.
and Mel Robbins spoke there. And that was the first time I saw her, and she didn't even have the book out then. And she did this example in the crowd, and it blew my mind. It was so crazy. So she had this whole thing. You have 5 seconds before your brain shuts down what you want to do. If you don't move within 5 seconds, your brain will shut it down. If you start moving, your fear level drops. So she went out, and there's like 4,000 people out in this huge arena.
Love it.
In Vegas. And she starts walking down from the stage. She goes, all right, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to find I'm going to walk this audience, and whoever looks the most scared, you're my victim. And she happened to find someone right by me. And so I got to see this like up close and personal.
Yeah.
They were not faking. This girl was not a plant. She was terrified. You could just see her. The closer Mel Robbins got, man, she was starting to freak out. And when Mel Robbins looked at her and pointed at her, and she started bawling. She was full on, like red faced, tears streaming, snot. I mean, she was bawling, scared to death. Her friends just trying to get her to calm down. Her friend who had brought her to this like Remax convention, and now she's having to do this. So she comes up to her and she goes, "Here's what you have to do," and she's still crying. And she's standing as close as me and you are right now.
Yeah.
And she's like, "I'm going to hand you this envelope, and you have, if you take this envelope, you have to do what's written on it in front of everybody." And she's like, "I can't do it." She's bawling, "I can't do it. I can't do it." Wow. She finally, her friend convinces her, "Just take it and do it. You've got to do it." And so she takes the envelope. So as soon as she has this envelope in her hand, she goes, no. Before the envelope was in her hand, Mel says, "What's your fear level?" And she's still crying at this point. She goes, "It's 11. 11, she goes, 1 to 10, what's your fear level?" She goes, "It's an 11, bawling and all that." So she goes, "Take the envelope." And so the girl takes the envelope. She goes, "Now where's your fear level?" And she's like, 10. And she's like, "All right, now stand." She's like, "Now you have to move. Stand up and walk." She was 2 seats away from the aisle.
Okay.
She's like, "Stand up and move to the aisle." So she stood up and moved to the aisle, moved 2 feet. And she goes, "What's your fear level now?" She goes, 7. And she was not crying anymore, but still clearly terrified.
Yeah.
She's like, 7. She goes, "All right, come with me." So she's following down in front of thousands of people, down into the bottom of the arena. So now she's down. She's not up on stage yet. She's down at the bottom of the arena, though. And she goes, "What's your fear level now?" And she goes, 5. And she goes, "Okay, keep walking.
Yeah.
So now she gets up onto the stage, and she's standing on the stage with Mel Robbins, again, up on the big screen, thousands of people, and Mel goes, what's your fear level now? She goes, 3. And she goes, open the envelope. And she goes, all right, and opens the envelope. It says, you have to sing happy birthday on a mic to everybody, to all the birthdays in the audience.
Oh my gosh.
And she goes, what's your fear level now? She goes, 1. And she takes a mic and sings happy birthday. She went from an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10, bawling, crying,
Unreal.
like no joke, like snot and everything,
Sure.
to singing happy birthday up on stage and then just
Thousands
talking
of
with
people.
Mel.
Yeah.
And she was just talking, like bantering with Mel up there on the mic, like, what the heck? And her whole point was, you have to move. As soon as you make a move, your fear level drops.
Wow.
It's when you stand there, you think is when you're terrified. You make a move. You can be sitting there and you don't want to make your calls for whatever reason.
All right.
And you go, her big thing is you count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as you're counting, you need to move your body. It has to be a physical movement.
Okay.
And you reach for that phone during that 5 seconds, and your fear level just drops. And it works. I've used it for everything.
That's crazy.
And it works. It's totally a game changer. There's a number of people on our team who have said it's complete game changers for them.
That's huge. That's another hidden nugget in this
Yeah.
Episode right there. So that was
good.
huge. That was huge, man.
Yeah.
So those are a lot of really powerful books and education and that sort of thing. And I think it ties back into whether you're sitting there and reading or you're out there watching it on YouTube or you're running and then taking that in via audio. As long as you're consuming this data, surrounding yourself with different people and mindsets, you're growing. You're constantly learning. So that's really good stuff, Jeff. So and again, all that's going to be in the comments and description below, so everybody can follow along with that and learn and grow. So this has been amazing, Jeff. This interview has been awesome. So last question before we wrap it up for everybody: if you could sum up your brand, yourself, in a mantra or a quote, what does that look like for Jeff Johnson?
I guess it would be our vision statement.
Okay.
So I already said our values.
Yep.
So our vision statement is pioneering the next level of service, like actually, not just saying it in a listing appointment, but actually being able to provide something better for every client here than anyone else in Colorado Springs can do. That's our outward-facing vision statement. But inward, it's creating a better quality of life for everyone on the team. So those are that to me sums up our brand. Within our team, we're trying to better everyone's quality of lives, and outside our team, we're trying to do what no one else can do for our clients.
Love that. And I think that speaks volumes, not just for you and the team, but the brand that you've built and, the respect that's out there in the community, the level that's out there, and your reputation is impeccable, Jeff. So
thanks.
Anybody that's watching this and knows it's the absolute truth. So that's fantastic. And, again, I just want to thank you so much for your time, Jeff. You are officially a real estate type, my friend, in my book. I Awesome
Appreciate
for having me on here. So everybody, thanks so much for taking the time and attention. Really appreciate your love and support. Again, live every Tuesday and Friday afternoons, a different Titan, a different location. So hopefully everybody has a good weekend, and we'll catch you on the next live episode of Real Estate Titans. Take care.
And I think we're good, man. Oh. Almost.